Just over a year ago, I got the chance to my first ever visit to Oakwood Theme Park, and I have to say that it's got one of the best top 2 coastal in Europe, and even though my favourite there too was Speed No Limits, I have to say that Megaphobia was still a great ride. Making its debut back in 2004, this is the only custom coast international roller coaster in the country, and in terms of the appearance, Megaphobia has one of the best colour schemes in the country. This is due to both the track and supports being brown, and I have to say that even though it wouldn't look great on a steel coaster, it definitely works with it being wooden. Something to point out was that the colour scheme also looks great with the backdrop. However, in terms of the theming, it's got a nice entrance sign along with some nice lighting. As much as the coaster isn't exactly themed, the wooden effect more than makes up for it. However, once the air gets empty, you'll then board the trains, and unlike the coaster's track, these were actually manufactured by Philadelphia toboggan coasters, and just like most of the company's trains, each of the coasters too can hold a total of 24 riders, and even though it's quite average for a large scale coaster, the most we had to wait was only 5 minutes. However, just like the track and supports, the trains also had a great colour scheme. This is due to one of the trains mainly being gold and with the other being silver, and I have to say that even though it's quite uncommon for a wooden coaster, it actually looked quite nice. However, once you pull down your restraint, you'll realise that the coaster has both a lap bar and also a seatbelt, and I have to say that even though the seatbelt was there, it didn't really bother me. Something to point out is that just like most PTC trains, the restraints allow for some great airtime along with them also being quite comfortable. Overall, this makes for some great restraints along with the trains themselves. However, in terms of the layout, Megaphobia starts off with a pre-drop station, and I have to say that it's definitely one of the weaker pre-drops I've experienced. This is due to the left-hand turn being quite slow, along with the first drop not really doing anything. However, after this, the coaster will then head up its 85-foot lift hill, and I have to say that of all 10 wooden roller coasters I've experienced, this definitely offers some of the best views. The reason why I say this is due to giving a great view of the layout along with the park itself. However, even as the case, if you're located on row 7, the car did shake a bit whilst riding up the lift hill, and by no means is it painful, but it's definitely noticeable. However, once you reach the top of the lift hill, the coaster will then take a left-hand turn, and apart from giving some great views of the countryside, it didn't really do anything. But after this, the coaster will then bring you down its main drop, and I have to say that if you're located towards the back of the train, it gives some of the best airtime in the country. This is due to the drop being quite steep, along with it also having some speed off the turn. Something to point out was that the supports also made for a great head chopper, and as much as it's more noticeable on the front row, it was still a great effect. However, next up, the coaster will then bring you into another left-hand turn, and I have to say this was definitely the weakest part on the coaster. The reason why I say this is due to being quite rough, and even though it was nowhere near as bad on the front, it was definitely noticeable. However, next up, the coaster will then bring you up into its first Airtime Hill, and even though it wasn't that strong, I have to say that it was still great to experience. Something to point out is that if you want the strongest airtime on this hill, I'd personally recommend sitting towards the front of the train. However, as I previously mentioned, it still wasn't that strong, but after this, you'll then head into a left-hand turn, and I have to say that if you're positioned towards the front of the train, you can actually get some decent airtime. Something to point out is that just like most of the coaster, it also offers some great views over the countryside. Another thing to mention was that if you're located towards the back of the train, the exit to the turn can actually give some nice airtime. However, next up, the coaster will then bring you up into another Airtime Hill, and I have to say that apart from a decent head chopper along with some weak airtime, it didn't really do anything. But after this, the coaster will then rise you up into a right-hand turn, and just like the previous turn, if you're located towards the front of the train, it offers some nice airtime whilst rising into it. However, at the exit of the element, the back row also gives some nice airtime before heading up into another Airtime Hill, and I have to say that even if you're located towards the middle of the train, it still offers some great airtime. However, after this, the coaster will then bring you through another right-hand turn, and as much as it still gives some nice airtime, what made this turn so great with the views? This is due to giving a nice view over the park along with the rest of the layout. However, next up, you'll then head into another Airtime Hill, and I have to say that even though half of it is turning to the left, it was by far the smoothest part on the coaster, and I'm not sure whether it just got retracked or not. However, I have to say that it was definitely great to see. But after this, the coaster will then bring you into the final left-hand turn, and just like the previous turn, it offers some great views. However, next up is one of the strangest parts on the ride, and even though it's just another right-hand turn, the exit to this turn was actually one of the roughest parts on the coaster, and even though it was still quite rough, it was actually quite enjoyable. However, next up, the coaster will then bring you into another right-hand turn before heading into the final brake run. But in terms of the smoothness, Megaphobia is one of the roughest wooden coasters I've experienced, and as much as it wasn't painful, due to the coaster now being over 30 years old, there were definitely some rough moments. However, even as the case, the coaster was definitely smoother towards the front of the train. But something else which I really wanted to point out was the pacing. This is due to the coaster giving some great airtime along with it never really slowing down, and I have to say that due to the coaster not having a mid-course brake run, it definitely runs a lot faster. However, something else to point out is that Megaphobia definitely warms up throughout the day, and as much as the morning rides are still great, you can definitely feel the coaster slowing down at points. However, if you'd like to experience its full potential, I'd personally recommend experiencing it within the rain. The reason why I say this is due to the coaster running a lot faster, along with it just giving a better experience. However, in terms of what road to head to, over my 2 visits I got to experience the front, middle and also the back, and I have to say that each road definitely has a different experience. The reason why I say this is due to the back road being one of the worst roller coasters in the country, the middle just being an average wooden coaster, and the front being one of the best. And as much as the back row gives the strongest airtime, I definitely recommend the front row. However, what's my overall opinion on Megaphobia? Megaphobia is one of my favourite roller coasters in Wales. This is due to offer some great airtime, along with it also having some good head choppers. Something to point out is that it's also got some nice theming along with the trains themselves. However, what is your opinion on Megaphobia? Make sure to leave any thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one.